Welcome back to the Daily Rundown. Now for some unfortunate breaking news we've just got in from Turkey. A gun and a bomb attack on Istanbul's Ataturk International Airport has killed at least 10 people and injured others, with reports that suicide bombers were used. There are reports of as many as 40 people injured after casualties were rushed to hospital in taxis. 2 suicide bombers blew themselves up. Reuters news agency quoted a Turkish official as saying police opened fire to stop the suspects at entry point. Reuters added, in December, recent bomb attacks in Turkey have been linked to Kurdish separatists or the so-called Islamic State group. A US State Department travel warning for Turkey, originally published in March and updated on Monday, urges US citizens to exercise heightened vigilance and caution when visiting public access areas, especially those heavily frequented by tourists. We will attempt to bring you more as it breaks. So we're just going to have a little discussion about this now, because obviously it's very tragic news, and just what your thoughts are on what's going on in Turkey at the moment.
It's horrendous. I think it's this sort of continual saga of people being killed, and
we seem like we get back up there and we're just like, oh, that was awful, and then it just happens again in another country.
It's not even that long after Orlando.
No,
I mean it's not the suggestions there. I mean the Kurdish separatists and Islamic State, they're two very different ideologies. I think initially, the first thing needs to be to secure the area, to make sure that the people who are affected are seen to. And again, like you say, it's just another tragic event. Innocent people going on around about their lives,
and it's a busy airport.
Yeah.
Well, airports do seem to be a target. Obviously, they're a hub for people, but I will confess to not knowing that much about this, but it seems interesting to me that somewhere that is so high in terms of security and has also been a previous target continues to be hit. A nightclub was so interesting and so awful because it was a space in which people were kind of socialising and going there. I think that Orlando was in particular to express their sexuality and their identity, and it was so unexpected in that way.
You're not going to have that kind of protection in a nightclub.
No, but at an airport, there is heavy security there. It's one of the areas.
And it seems obviously that the police has picked up on it straight away. They're trying to stop it, but they just couldn't stop it. And like you said,
shoot back,
yeah.
And it's coming up to it's coming up to the summer holidays, so people are going to be people are travelling, and Turkey's a popular destination. Or was a popular destination. I'm sure it will still be a popular destination, but it seems that is. As he says, we don't know enough about this situation. Turkey itself has a border against sort of, certainly the areas of the world which have been very, very dangerous, and it's just worrying that, following on from the Paris attacks that happened outside a football stadium and a concert, and as you were saying, Polly, the Orlando attacks, it seems that the ideology that we should go about our daily lives is one that I truly believe in, but again, it just seems that it's easy is the wrong word, but it just seems that we were just sitting here, and I was sitting here thinking that I had enough issues with dealing with the Brexit thing and all this kind of thing, and then you just out of nowhere you realise that there are people going about their business, and there are areas of the world where people you don't expect this to happen, then all of a sudden
and the rug, it's like the rug's just pulled from under them. I mean, Paris for me, that was just absolutely horrendous. And then this, is saying, if I look back quickly, that says 10 definitely dead and 40 injured, but that's just a quick a recrap, a head count. They don't know how, it could be a lot worse, because that's what it's like with Paris, wasn't it? As it was breaking, the numbers were getting worse.
And I think it's, as well as the injured, it's not just the injured people, it's the people that haven't been injured in this attack, but that go to airports, because now this is an airport in Turkey. There's nothing to say there's no major difference in an airport in Turkey to an airport in Paris to an airport in Madrid. It's an airport where people go, where you would expect security. Attacks have happened here, so you would expect there to be heightened security. And even in places where there are heightened security, these issues are occurring. It's It's a sad time.
I think the reality of it also feels quite close after the attacks that happened in London and the bus. And I was living in London at the time, and I remember not knowing whether my mum had been in town and calling her and not being able to get through because the mobile networks were down because everyone was trying to call, and it was really, really frightening. And it feels sometimes as though we live quite far away from where these attacks are happening, but actually we know we're not invulnerable. We know potentially it's only a matter of time without, kind of scaremongering too much. But I think, the government is aware of this, and it does feel very close and very frightening, the reality of what it would be like to be directly involved in something like that.
It does, and I just think that also we don't know how. The security that we do have around the UK is fantastic. We don't know how many, they foil a lot of terrorism. We have so much that we'll just never know about. And I do believe that I don't want to, forecast something, but I do think that we have great defence in this country as well. But like you said, these are main places that they've targeted. They're not far-flung places. They've had a chance to tighten up since Paris.
We've only just had it was only a couple of days ago we had the year anniversary of the attacks in Tunisia and Sousse.
Yeah.
I don't think we will get, but it feels like this. This is a horrific story, but it feels like it's another story that's come on again in a weird kind of way. It feels like this. Not that it isn't as much of a shock, but it just seems this is another one of these attacks. It doesn't belittle it or reduce it. It just seems that this is the world we live in now, and it's a really scary thing to think that you go about your daily business, and it's just.
I think what's really interesting as well about incidents like these is that to a lot of people, and myself included, the politics around, we don't yet know whether it's linked to Islamic State, but Islamic State, if we're talking more generally about these kinds of attacks and the happening, the politics behind that feels so complex and so part of our daily lives now in some ways. We were brought into a war that was kind of reactionary in that way, and yet the simplicity of the way in which people are affected by things like this, so you can try to hold the reasons or the kind of motivations or how to stop it or what to do about it in your head, and then there's the basic reality of being caught up in something like this and what that must be like, and just a kind of an attempt to survive, an attempt to help the injured and the people who are affected there. There were some amazing stories of heroism that came out of Orlando, I think, that were very moving, really.
They were really moving, and that everyone's sort of united against it, against what had happened. Everyone's like, I'm here for Orlando, we're Orlando, and all this stuff. But it always just seems to me that I hope that what's just happened in Turkey, that everyone is tightening the security, because it's all great us afterwards going, we're united, this won't bring us down, but we need to make sure that we're trying to be more secure with things. But then again, how could you do that in a nightclub? You can't start, scanning people in and have
I guess it's to do with sort of suspicious persons, because the guy behind Orlando was on a watch list, and he was
and he hadn't been prosecuted. It fell apart and the case and everything like that.
And I think it equally shows with Orlando and with a lot of these things. It's important that what we do is we look at why this happened, because I think I was, like anybody, you were very shocked about the Orlando situation, but within a couple of days, the initial sort of suggestion that I heard that he'd claimed that it was to do with, that he was affiliated to Islamic State, and then within a couple of days, it became clear that this was more an attack. It was clearly an attack on a lifestyle, and it was an attack on it was a homophobic attack on the LGBT.
Thought. Yeah, it was just someone, an extremist who was massively homophobic, and they said that a poster he saw of two guys kissing sent him over the edge.
But I think that we can look at the areas. I think that the important thing is that we don't just immediately go, right, this is a terrorist attack. It must be this idea. we need to approach this in a way that we do find this, because as I say, is that the suggestion, when I heard the suggestion that it's either Kurdish separatists or Islamic State, for me they are two very different sort of ideologies and campaigns, and if the suggestion is that it's one of those two, that's like saying it's either, you know, it could be the left or the right. It seems that we need to identify what the reasons are, because it's more important now that we find this reason and that we don't allow attacks to just be hung on to particular easy pegs.
Yeah, because that's what it is, because it's go, oh, it's just them, it's just ISIS, it's just this.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know.
You kind of
and people who do have problems and issues, the people that commit these crimes as well, they will just say they're part of these two groups just to identify, just to get attention, they're sick in the head basically. So it might not always be down, like you said, we need to find the true cause, but they always know behind the scenes, whatever, MI5, MI6, FBI, they do always know, you know, and they're behind who it is really, and sometimes they'll just let whatever runs in the media.
I wonder whether security will be something that's kind of brought into the Brexit debate rather more than it has been so far, in the sense that Britain has benefited from a close relationship with Europe in terms of shared intelligence, and an exit from Europe could potentially threaten that. There was talks after Paris about the way in which France is slightly isolationist in terms of its security, and that needed to change. So I wonder whether this is going to become something that actually becomes more a part of that debate in a way that hasn't, you know, the big topics at the moment with Brexit are the economy and immigration, and this is, I think, another part of that discussion.
Exactly. Well, we're going to go to a break now, but like you said, as soon as we get news breaking as and when, we will keep you updated. If you want to tweet us in the break with your views on what's happened, tweet us at The Daily Rundown, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.